Welcome to another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. I'm Steve Gamache, and what we have this time is the Misono UX10 Gyuto, the 240mm knife. The steel on this is what they just call Swedish stainless, so there's a limited number of steels that really could be, but it's going to be a fine-grained steel that takes a great edge, has decent edge retention, again, nice sharpen ability, great, as I said, great sharpening characteristics, so it's just a really nice steel. These are mono steel, so there's just one slab of steel there. There's no cladding, no layers. It's all fully stainless. Heat treat's right around 60 on these, so kind of a good balance between not too hard, not too soft. So they've got a real workhorse attribute about them. These knives have been around a long time, and for good reason. They're just good professional level workhorse knives. Not too thin at the edge, not too thick, just good, robust blades that within the proper scope of use, you'll get a lot of work done with them. They're not going to take abuse, but they're still pretty tough blades. The weight on these are just enough heft to let you get some work done, 8.5 ounces or 240 grams. Edge length is 245 millimeters, 9.65 on the edge from the tip to the chin, the back of the heel. So nice length for prep and getting some real work done. The overall length, about 15 inches on the entire blade from tip to the end of the handle. And these are kind of typical spine thickness, blade thickness for this style of blade. About 2.4 millimeters coming out of the bolster. Just keep that most of the way through, and then we start to thin out a little bit in the front half of the blade. Then about the last 2 inches or so, we thin up towards the tip, and the tip gets pretty thin right at the end. So the tip performance is pretty good. The blade height is just a good middle-of-the-road height for this style knife, about 49.5 millimeters at the back of the blade, and that gives you plenty of board clearance. Not a problem. Unless you've got monster hands with gigantic fingers, you should be just fine. The handle is just kind of a general medium size or average size for this style of blade. Not too big, not too thin. It's not super rounded, but it's comfortable. You've got a nice bird's beak here to keep your hand locked in place. And you've got that cool looking, kind of aggressive angled bevel, which is a really neat look. So these have a cool look, and you can see how the choil kind of comes back a little bit at an angle. So it's a really cool, aggressive look. The handle material is what's known as black packawood, or it's just a stabilized wood product. And these this packawood can shrink a little over time if it's in a dry environment, if it just sits in a warehouse or sits at a store or something. So this one's pretty good. Sometimes if they shrink a little bit, you'll be able to feel the tang or the bolster or the rivets a little bit. If that's the case, you could either sand that stuff down, or some people have tried maybe soaking these in mineral oil inside paper towels in a Ziploc bag or something for a few days and see if the handle plumps back up, which some people have had success with. But fit and finish is good on the blade. The choil back here is a little sharp on the edges. You may want to sand that a little bit to relieve those corners on the choil, and maybe a little bit on the spine. The out-of-the-box edge is nicely done. I'll give that a good 6 out of 10. It's got a nice looking edge bevel, and it was quite sharp. And they've got a little bit of a thinning, kind of polish towards the very edge besides the actual edge bevel itself. And you can see the machine finish. You've got the screened-on logo there. You've got that cool angled, aggressive bevel. I should say bevel bolster. So it's a neat knife. They are pretty thin at the edge, but not super duper crazy thin. So you've got just enough meat there to give you a little bit of robust factor. And let's take a look at it on the cutting board before we do that balance point. Balance point is basically right about there where the choil goes into the blade. It's pretty close to that. So pretty neutral balance point, kind of splitting hairs between the the racket grip and the pinch grip. Here is your profile on the cutting board, and it's a butter smooth. They did a nice job grinding these. It's just smooth as glass as far as the curve, no hiccups, no bumps, no anything. And it's a really nice profile. You've got about a third of the blade. It's got a pretty good flat spot at the heel, some fairly aggressive belly, although the very, very tip, it's pretty pointy. It's kind of a spear point, which is great for detail work. You can't get super high on this. You could modify your tip a little bit if you wanted to give it slightly more belly in that last maybe quarter inch, and sweep it up a little if you want to get higher for rocking. But this should really be good for a variety of techniques. It's just a sweet profile all around. So these are just neat blades. They've got a lot of competition now, but they still sell well, and for good reason. It's just a good, solid, professional workhorse knife that does its job well and will, like I said, get a lot of work done for you. So there we have the Misono UX10 Swedish stainless Gyuto, the 240 millimeter knife.